live once again, and I'm back on this edition of the Storytellers. This is one edition and one project that continues to get me all excited and fired up because it's like this round table where like begets like, we meet journalists and we hang out. And that's another story for another day. When journalists hang out, what do they discuss? Do they discuss the policies? Oh, I met this man. Oh, I met that policymaker. You'd be shocked, sometimes it's just about... I'll get back to that in a bit. My name is Babatunde Femi Oklola, and I'm your host on this edition of The Storytellers, where we chart the course. We sit down with the ones who tell the stories. They're located in different places, and that's why we call them the members of the fourth estate of the realm, because, they're somewhere in the ladder. Checks and balances are very, very important, and we do what we have to do. My guest today is from Kenya. His story is unique because we talk about developmental journalism. He's one who's at the very heart of it, talking about where the stories happen, reporting stories that nobody dares to report, and he kicked off with radio. He left for a while, but then he got back to it. He's got about 8 years of experience. Well, I'm talking about Otieno Bwire.
Thank you so much, my brother.
It's good to have you join me.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you so much. So much to talk about, and it's fascinating because I'm just going to cut straight to the question I've had in mind. When you started, and you basically run radio in the slums, as we speak. Radio in the slums. Did you start off wanting to do that? Or was that the work available? What's the story?
Thank you so much, my brother, once again. Basically, for me, radio journalism was inside me. Like when I was a child, I can remember when I was at least 3 to 5 to 6 years old. I used to love watching cartoons. And at the back of my mind, I used to say, I wanted to become a cartoon producer.
Wow.
Because I used to be fascinated.
I
used to be fascinated by how do these things speak on TV? And then they have a story. Like for example, Tom and Jerry. Like sometimes you see them like they're fighting, they're quarreling. But by the end of the day, it's a reflection of our society. Like we always fight over resources. We fight with my brother, with my sister. And we are learning something. So I've always wanted to become a cartoon producer. I'm like, there's always a story in these cartoons. Yes, they're entertaining, but by the end of the day, there's always a storyline, something to learn from those characters. And even up to now, I'm still dying to be like, one day, can I go behind the scenes and become a cartoon producer?
Well, we'll get to that story because we'll get into that transition where you're moving from, radio to TV. But then you started off with radio journalism and you found yourself, in the slums area. Was that a deliberate effort? Again, I ask you about the question because, again, was it work that came at that point in time? And it was just work that had to be done. What was it? Because you've done remarkable, tremendous things in that aspect as well, reporting these underreported stories.
Maybe basically, just maybe briefly, is that after high school, I went to college, did a diploma first in journalism, and then just right after the diploma course, I was able to, as someone looking for a job in the community, you go to places, you drop your CVs, and luckily, I was lucky to get into one of the mainstream media houses actually they took me as a translator. So it meant I sat on a desk 8 to 5 hour job. You translate stories from English to Kiswahili or vice versa. So you just sit in a Nairobi office, get reports from other reporters from the field, they send their scripts. And even TV journalists were very lazy at that time, so you're given scripts. Hey Tom, translate the stories to either this language or the other one. So the first 3 months was internship program, whereby I did most of translations every day. It was really interesting because I was learning to now improve on my language. And before the internship program ended, I was confirmed in the second month because they thought my work was very impressive. And for that media house, I worked for 2 years. And then just after the second year, towards the third year, I was retrenched. And that took me off journalism for 2 years because I was depressed. Because I didn't get prepared. It meant you don't have a job, you don't have resources. Because the hard thing for me at that time was you're retrenched and then you're not cancelled properly. You're not told, we are sorry, we can't have you guys, because the email said you guys, you are overstaffed. So we need to reduce the number of staff so that we can.
So it wasn't because you weren't doing a good job.
No.
It just caught you off in the most brutal way.
Right. Actually, I had just come from an assignment, like a long week assignment outside Nairobi, and I was preparing those packages already to air for the next 4 weeks. They were radio features. And then you just get this letter on Monday, like, oh, sorry guys, if you've been retouched. Actually, we were 6 of us at that time. And you go back home, you're like, okay, now, what the hell, you know?
I was warned.
Yes.
I was told never to get into media. It's such a horrible job. We told you so and everything.
And yes, my mom was like, as you say, this was not the right profession for you. Now see, you have nothing. It's like they make you feel like you are demonized in the society, like you're nothing again. And for me, the worst thing was like, yes, you guys are overstaffed. This was on a Monday. On Thursday, the station had other new staff from other stations.
Wow.
And they were paid thrice our salaries. So it kept hitting me like, why Tom? Why me? Why me?
You left for 2 years.
Yes.
And you vowed at that stage, media, this is over for me. What took you back? What brought you back?
Actually, like in my community, at that time, we didn't have a community voice. We didn't have a community radio. So when this radio was starting, it was called then Pamoja FM. Pamoja is a Swahili word meaning together. So, and it was coming into the community to give them a voice, to bring them together. So I said, let me just try again to go back to media and see what I can do for my community in Kibera. So I went to the office, met one of the founders. They were still fixing the studios. It was not even like set up yet, but they were still fixing the studios and trying to set up the structures for the station. So when they saw my CV, they're like, oh, I think you have some experience. We can try you. So just report next week on Monday, because it was in September 2007. So I went on Monday, like the September 27th, to the office. And we discussed lengthily. We started to plan, like, because at least I had some little background. So we planned. This is how we need to structure the station. We need to have a few reporters. We need to have a few producers. We need to have presenters, and so I came in on board as a trainer. So what happened is we were able to recruit young people with no journalism skills from the slums, but were very passionate to tell their stories, our stories. So what used to happen is that in the morning sessions, I could train them on how to script, like starting from scratch, how to write an intro, the W's and the H, who, what, when, why, how, those ones. Because this is someone without any journalism skills, but they're very passionate. So we did that for September, October, November, December. That was in 2007 in Kenya. And then we could record news. So after they do the news clips in draft, I go through them and then I edit them and then we record the news, which air on radio the following day in the morning. Then December came, bang, elections in Kenya. And most globally people know that in 2007 we fought ethnically because of the election results, and that stabilized the operation of the station because we were in a hot zone, Kibera. So we fought ethnically. Everything just went chaotically, and the operation stopped for around 3 months because there's no power supply. We were disintegrated as a community because there was so much hatred. But over time, we came again and thought, hey, what can we do? We are the voice. We came in here as Pamoja FM to be the voice because the station came in to help and give a voice because most of the mainstream media at that time was not giving a positive story about Kibera. It was about the flying toilets. And
you changed that story.
Yes. So what happened is that we went back to the community, spoke to them and told them, hey, we need to come back on air. Can you help us with resources? So they brought in some free resources and we came back on air. We came back on air, and then what we did is that we went for those key gang leaders because there was so much ethnic hatred in the community.
So you used radio to bring them together?
Yes.
Wow.
So the gang leaders came on board and spoke to the young people who were always rowdy, and they said, hey guys, this is our community, we need to stop hating on each other. Can we start building this community positively time by time until we made it
I was going to ask you about the power of radio, but you just told that story once, being able to effect that change. Now, my next question, because again, there's so many of them, but I guess we'll have to do this in bit, but this story and why I've dwelt on it is because it's a story of tenacity, a story of everything that could go wrong going wrong, a story of you trying again. And, if at first you don't succeed, trying again, and it's amazing because right from putting in all the effort at that area. It's just, I'm talking about from the slummy areas to the world. Talking about someone who's covering global conferences right now, right at this moment. And that's the guest that I've got. And that's the most important, that's the inspiring thing about this story. I want to talk to you about that moment when you had that big break. Do you remember that moment where you had the break and it looked like, yeah, this is amazing. It's a good that I got back to journalism.
That was in 2013 when I got shortlisted for the CNN Awards.
He didn't tell me that. Please tell me about that story.
Yes, so
you're covering issues because oftentimes you'd suppose you ought to be covering the big stories, but these are supposed to be the insignificant stories, but which are really the most important stories, and you still get recognized by the CNN. I'm interested.
Yes. So there's this study that I did from the community. It's called the Talking Box Program. So it's about one of the NGOs, like non-government organizations in Kibera, running a girl center. So they, in the African context, for a dad, you cannot tell your daughter, or a girl cannot tell the daughter, the girls cannot speak to their fathers, I want to have a boyfriend, I want to have sanitary pads, I want to have panties. So
that was what the story was about.
So a talking box program. So it means that girls are able to speak on their issues through a box, and they're addressed, because not verbally, but through a piece of paper.
Wow.
Yes.
And that was like a definitive moment.
Yes.
Wow. Well, that is definitely a break. Talking about a break, that is a break. Right. All right. Now I want to ask you, because I know you're doing the transition right now from radio to TV, amongst a couple of other things, and I know there's a message somewhere there because we know we'll be wrapping this up, and I know there's a message right there, and it sort of tells me about the dynamism in what you do. You've moved from radio, and now you're thinking about moving to some other things. Why is this? Why are you thinking of adopting? Bringing in different forms? Is it because of the changing landscape when it comes to the media, or, before we wrap up?
Actually, for us, even just going into the other alternative media, is because most of our mediums now, they've become more of DJing, like media stations, and they report he said, she said kind of reporting. It's very shallow. So for us transiting from radio now to Kibera Kenya, which is a new entity in the slum, is that we want to give solution. We want to think in terms of solution-based journalism. Like if I'm telling this story, how did this audience get to gain?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. How did they get to gain?
Yes.
And we definitely gained a lot from this conversation with Thomas Bwire. On this edition of the Storytellers. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you so much. How many questions have I asked today? I think I've just asked really about 3 questions and thereabout, but I just had to get into that story. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And that is what the Storyteller is all about. You look at people and you say, the truth about it is there are no overnight successes in the media space. You hear someone, oh, he was here. There's a story behind the story, and you heard this right here on the Storytellers. Thomas, thank you so much. And I do hope your story inspires a lot of people. Just a sentence of encouragement to someone who's watching right now, a journalism aspirant who's like, I want to get into this. What would you say? Just a line or 2.
Just be yourself and have the passion to do what you love every day. That's it.
Take it and believe that. Okay, Thomas, thank you. My name is Babatunde Okunola. Thanks for watching this edition of the Storytellers, and that's what it's all about: inspiration, motivation, what have you. Yeah, we'll be back next week.